You are tired, I think, of the always puzzle of living and doing, and so am I. Come with me then, and we'll leave it far and far away. Only you and I understand. You have played, I think, and broke the toys you were fondest of, and are a little tired now. Tired of things that break, and just tired, so am I. But I come with a dream in my eyes tonight, and knock with a rose at the hopeless gate of your heart. Open to me, for I will show you the places nobody knows, and if you like, the perfect places of sleep. Ah, come with me. I'll blow you that wonderful bubble, the moon, that floats forever and a day, and I'll sing you the jacinth song of the probable stars. I will attempt the unstartled steps of dream until I find the only flower which will keep, I think, your little heart while the moon comes out of the sea.
On the difficulty of conjuring up a dryad, ravening through the persistent bric-a-brac of blunt pencils, rose-sprigged coffee cup, postage stamps, stacked books, clamor and yop, neighborhood cock crow, all nature's prodigal back talk, the vaunting mind snugs impromptu spiels of wind and wrestles to impose its own order on what is. With my fantasy alone brags the unfortunate head, arrogant among rook-tongued spaces, sheep-green spin balls. I shall compose a crisis with sun-sky blackout, drive gibbering mad, trout, cock, ram that bulk so calm on my jealous stare, self-sufficient as they are. But no hocus-pocus of green angels damasked with dazzle with threadbare eye. My trouble doctor is, I see a tree, and that damn scrupulous tree won't live I live to hoodwink the honest earth, which point-blank spurns such fiction as nymphs. Cold vision will have no counterfeit palmed off on it. No doubt now in dream propertied fall, some new night, star-lucky sleight of hand man watches my jilting lady squander coin. Gold leaf stop ditches, and the opulent air goes studded with seed, while this beggared brain hatches no fortune, but from leaf, from grass, feeds what it has.
Do you hear the music or you get the lyrics started? There's some kind of a rhythm that goes.
It's very funny because I haven't an ear for music, but I hear the music and the rhythm, which somehow I don't think about, you know? It's funny. I have a visual imagination. For instance, my inspiration is paintings and not music when I go to some other art form. What do you think, Ted? I mean, I see these things very clearly, and I have visual images, and yet the sound itself is terrifically strong. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I feel ideally I'd like to be musical without being artificial, which I think is sometimes difficult, and to be able to speak out, you know, straight out the way you talk, which is again is terrifically hard, while getting all the illusions and richness in that you get in rhetoric, which, you know, is like eating cake and learning to have it, I guess. November graveyard. The scene stands stubborn. Skinflint trees poured last leaves, won't mourn, wear sackcloth, or turn to elegiac dryads, and dour grass guards the hard-hearted emerald of its grassiness, however the grandiloquent mind may scorn such poverty. So no dead men's cries, flower forget-me-nots between the stone paving this grave ground. Here's honest rot to unpick the elaborate heart, hair burned free of the fictive vein. When one stark skeleton bulks reel, all saints' tongues fall quiet. Flies watch no resurrections in the sun. At the essential landscape, stare till your eyes hoist the vision and dazzling on the wind. Whatever lost ghosts flare, damned, howling in their shrouds across the moor, rave on the leash of the starving mind, which peoples the bare room, the blank, untenanted air. triumph of wit over suffering. Head alone shows you in the prodigious act of digesting what centuries alone digest, the mammoth lumbering statuary of sorrow, indissoluble enough to riddle the guts of a whale with holes and bleed him white into salt seas. Hercules had a simple time rinsing those stables. A baby's tears would do it, but who'd volunteer to gulp the Laocoon, the dying Gaul, and those innumerable pietas festering on the dim walls of Europe's chapels, museums, and sepulchres? You who borrowed feathers for your feet, not lead, not nails, and a mirror to keep the snaky head in safe perspective, could outface the Gorgon grimace of human agony. A look to numb limbs, not the basilisk blink, nor a double whammy, but all the accumulated last grunts, groans, cries, and heroic couplets, concluding the million enacted tragedies on these blood-soaked boards, and every private twinge a hissing asp to petrify your eyes, and every village catastrophe a writhing length of cobra, and the decline of empires, the thick coil of a vast anaconda. Imagine the world fisted to a fetus head, ravined, seamed with suffering from conception upwards, and there you have it in hand. Grit in the eye or a sore thumb can make anyone wince, but the whole globe expressive of grief turns gods like kings to rocks. Those rocks, cleft and worn, themselves then grow ponderous and extend despair on earth's dark face. So might rigor mortis come to stiffen all creation, were it not for a bigger belly still than swallow's joy. You enter now, armed with feathers to tickle as well as fly, and a fun-house mirror that turns the tragic muse to the beheaded head of a sullen doll, one braid a bedraggled snake hanging limp as the absurd mouth hangs in its lugubrious pout. Where are the classic limbs of stubborn Antigone, the red royal robes of Phaedra, the tear-dazzled sorrows of Malfi's gentle duchess? Gone in the deep convulsion gripping your face, muscles and sinews bunched, victorious, as the cosmic laugh does away with the unstitching, plaguey wounds of an eternal sufferer. To you, Perseus the palm, and may you poise and repoise until time stops the celestial balance which weighs our madness with our sanity.
You seem to be an extremely scrupulous prophetess and take a great interest in...
Well, how do you mean? How do you mean?
Instead of watching your syllables and feet as you go along.
I suppose, well, I suppose, you know. Does it? Because I don't want to stop, and yet somehow I want it to be there, you know, because the lines don't end.
So you want to play rock guitar?
They do end in a way.
All right, a little advice to start with. The longest journey begins with the first step. Okay. The first thing we'll do, hold the guitar the same way as you see me holding it on the front cover of the album sleeve. Now don't do anything just yet. I'll give you an illustration of...
scene from the comic operatic fantasy The Seafarer. It beguiles this little odyssey in pink and lavender over a surface of gently graded turquoise tiles that represent a sea with checkered waves and gaily bear up the seafarer, gaily, gaily, in his pink plume and armor. A fairy tale gondola of paper buries the fish pond Sinbad, who poises his pastel spear toward three pinky purple monsters which uprear off the ocean floor with fanged and dreadful head. Beware, beware, the whale, the shark, the squid. But fins and scales of each scrolled sea beast troll no slime, no weed. They are polished for the joust. They gleam like Easter eggshells, rose and amethyst. Ahab, fulfill your boast. Bring home each storied head. One thrust, one thrust, one thrust, and they are dead. So fables go, and so all children sing their bathtub battles deep, hazardous and long. But old sage grown-ups know sea dragon for sofa, fang for pasteboard, and siren song for fever in a sleep. Laughing, laughing of greybeards wakes us up. On the decline of oracles. My father kept a speckled conch by two bronze bookends of ships in sail, and as I listened its cold teeth seethed with voices of that ambiguous sea, old Birkeland mist, who held a shell to hear the sea he could not hear. What the seashell spoke to his inner ear he knew, but no peasants know. My father died, and when he died, he willed his books and shell away. The books burned up, sea took the shell, but I keep the voices he set in my ear, and in my eye the sight of those blue unseen waves for which the ghost of Birkeland grieves. The peasants feast and multiply, and never need see what I see. In the temple of broken stones, above a worn curtain, rears the white head of a god or madman. Nobody knows which or dares ask. From him I have tomorrow's gossips and doldrums. So much is vision good for. Like a persistent stitch in the side it nags, is tedious. Straddling a stool in the third-floor window booth of the Alexandra house of a petty curé, I regard with some fatigue the smoky rooms of the restaurant opposite. See impose itself on the cook of the steaming stove, a picture of what's going to happen. I've to wait it out. It will come. It comes. Three barely known men are coming up the stair. This veils both stove and cook. One is pale with orange hair. Behind glasses, the second's eyes are blurred. The third walks leaning on a stick and smiling. These trivial images invade the cloistral eye like pages from a gross comic strip. And toward the happening of this happening, the earth turns now. In half an hour I shall go down the shabby stair and meet coming up those three. Worth less than present, past, this future. Worthless such vision to eyes gone dull, that once descried Troy's towers fall, saw evil break out of the north. Disquieting muses. Mother, mother, what ill-bred aunt, or what disfigured and unsightly cousin did you so unwisely keep unasked to my christening, that she sent these ladies in her stead, with heads like darning eggs, to nod and nod and nod at foot and head, and at the left side of my crib? Mother who made such lovely stories of Nixie Blackthorpe, the hero bear. Mother whose witches always got baked into gingerbread. I wonder whether you saw them, whether you said words to rid me of those three ladies, nodding by night around my bed, mouthless, eyeless, with stitched bald head. In the hurricane when Father's 12 study windows bellied in like bubbles about to break, you fed my brother and me cookies and Ovaltine and helped us somewhat simply quiet. Thor is angry, boom, boom, boom. Thor is angry, we don't care. But those ladies broke the pain. When on tiptoe the schoolgirls danced, blinking flashlights like fireflies and singing the glowworm song, I could not lift a foot in the twinkle dress, but heavy-footed stood aside in the shadow cast by my dismal-headed godmothers, and you cried and cried, and the shadow stretched, the lights went out. Mother, you sent me to piano lessons and praised my arabesques and trills, although each teacher found my touch oddly wooden in spite of scales and the hours of practicing. My ear tone deaf and yes, unteachable. I learned elsewhere from muses unhired by you, dear mother. I woke one day to see you, mother, floating above me in bluest air, on a green balloon bright with a million flowers and bluebirds that never were, never found anywhere. But the little planet bobbed away like a soap bubble as you called, "Come here."
Imagination.
Good, I'm glad it comes over. Departure of the ghost. Enter the chilly no-man's land at precisely 5 o'clock in the morning. The no-color void with a waking head rubbishes out the draggled lot of sulphurous dreamscapes and obscure lunar conundrums which seem, when dreamed, to mean so profoundly much, gets ready to face the ready-made creation of chairs and bureaus and sleep-twisted sheets. This is the kingdom of the fading apparition, the oracular ghost who dwindles on pin legs to a knot of laundry, with a classic bunch of sheets upraised as a hand, emblematic of farewell. At this joint between two worlds, and two entirely incompatible modes of time, the raw material of our meat and potato thought assumes the nimbus of ambrosial revelation, and so departs. But its chair and bureau are the hieroglyphs of some godly utterance wakened heads ignore. So these posed sheets, before they thin to nothing, speak in sign language of a lost other world, a world we lose by merely waking up into sanity. The common ghosts crowed out, worms riddling its tongue, or walks the hamlet all day on the printed page, or bodies itself with dowagers in drafty castles at 12, or inhabits the crystal of the sick man's eye, trailing its telltale tatters only at the outmost fringe of mundane vision. But this ghost goes hand-locked, goodbye, goodbye, not down into the rocky gizzard of the earth, but toward the region where our thick atmosphere diminishes, and God knows what is there. A point of exclamation marks that sky in ringing orange like a stellar carrot, its round period, displaced and green, suspends beside it the first point, the starting point of Eden, next the new moon's curve. Go, ghost of our mother and father, ghost of us, and ghost of our dreams, children, and those sheets which signify our origin and end. The cloud cuckoo land of color wheels and pristine alphabets and cows that moo and moo as they jump over moons as new as that crisp cusp toward which you voyage now. Hail and farewell, hello, goodbye, O keeper of the profane grail, the dreaming skull.
What is that?
Oh, spring vacation. Why? Very recent, I remember.
What are your working habits? Do you concentrate for 3 or 4 days at a time, or every month?
No, I do it very quickly somehow. I mean, I don't eat or bother with anything while I'm working on it, and I generally have somehow thought about it before. It's not as if I've had a subject, like I had the subject of the idea for this one for a long time without writing on it at all. And when I wrote it pretty much all in a very short space, a day or 2 days at an old time.
Well, that's happening.
With nothing else, doing nothing else, morning, noon, and night, he was howling for supper. And I wouldn't stay for it.